Heart and Hand is delighted to be partnering up once again with NordVPN, the premier VPN service available. You can safely search out what you like anywhere in the world with NordVPN and make sure that your privacy is protected. Go to nordvpn.com for the full range of offers. Hello everyone and welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. My name is David Edgar. I am your host as always, and maybe unlike as always recently, we've a very good mood among the Rangers support after a pretty solid week, starting off with that victory over Hearts, which, while not a great performance, the manner of it, I think left you leaving Ibrox on a high, and then a very good performance in Dundee was followed up by a very good performance at Hampden. Here, unusually, to discuss a week where things appeared to be heading in the right direction is Andy McGowan. Hello, Andy.
Hello, David. I feel like I could be auditioning for the CBeebies. You know, everything's getting so cheery around here with me when I come on.
It's
cracking Ori.
Yeah, well, if you told us it a few weeks ago, I think we would certainly have felt that there was a storytelling element to it. But actually, that's something the manager speaks about. He's trying to build a good story at Rangers, is a phrase he uses. And look, it's a few weeks, and these players have shown good form in patches before, and then the goings got tough and they've not got going. But like the manager says, let's take it one game at a time at the moment. Yesterday was a test. It was no more than that. We haven't won anything yet. He was at pains to point that out immediately after the game. But as he put it, if you lose it, if you're in a quarter, a semi, it doesn't matter. It's only if you win the trophy that it counts, which is the Rangers' attitude that we all want, I think. But when he came in, Andy, I think one of the things we mentioned on here, you and I were discussing it, was that when Beale came in, he did win for a long time. He won a lot of games, with the exception of Celtic, which was ultimately his undoing. But he didn't really build up much belief in the support because the manner of the victories. There was no discernible style of play, plan, to quote Adam, our tactics guys, patterns of play. You know, the things that you see when you see a well-coached side, I think, when everybody seems to know what their job is. Doesn't it always come off? Of course it doesn't, but you can see what they're trying to achieve. And there's just this sense under Clement that, right, I get it, right, I know what you're trying to do here. And we saw that, as I say, in the last two matches. And it came about, like, yesterday. I think the biggest thing for me is this Rangers team has started games well. And as Martin always says, our podder Martin, he always says, the problem is they either score after 20 minutes and go, phew, and then just stop, or they go in a huff after 20 minutes because they haven't scored and then just stop, and then they have to try and recover it in the second half. What a decent first half should be, and that's what we got on Wednesday night, and it's what we got yesterday. A decent first half. Rangers were the dominant side. They had most of the ball, and they made some good chances. You need to build on that then. It becomes a good performance if you go up a gear in the second half. Rangers too often have started well and gone down gears, but it was the opposite yesterday, and then Rangers had this cup tie one after an hour.
Yeah, and it's important to preface everything we say with, because we get accused of getting too happy too quickly, if you want to put it that way. But to your point about what we were seeing under Beale at the start and what we're seeing here, it's probably a question of identity, because already, even a month in, you're starting to see big chunks of what our identity is going to be under Clement. And the press is far better. I think Danilo's got a lot to do with that, albeit the press is a lot better. Our ball recovery and a kind of tigery kind of hustle is much, much better than it was previously. And you just need to look at individual players, and they've obviously been told to do something different. John Lundstram's a case in point. I've never seen him move so forward into the space in front of him in his entire time at Rangers.
And outstripped players yesterday. He was, oh my goodness, a rocket.
he's looking really, really good, and he was in good form before. Under the latter days of Beale, he was one of the few players that was contributing. Goldson's been impeccable since Clement came in. We'll talk about Tavernier, I'm sure. So Scott Wright. There's individual players that are obviously responding to whatever is happening behind the scenes, whether it's the word in the ear, whether it's the direction on the training pitch, whether it's the tactics, as simple as that. There's things happening there which point to optimism, extreme optimism. And to your point yesterday about the first half, we went in at 0-0 and I'm like, well, Hearts are going to be delighted that they got in there, nothing on, because we were absolutely dominant. We're creating good chances,
giving nothing
away, defending their kind of one and only tactic, which was set pieces and long throws. And at half time, I was like, we're going to be all right here. I don't see us losing this game unless we have a cataclysm, a set piece. But the thing to take away for that was, I think most other Rangers managers, Beale certainly, would have come out with the exact same 11. But the tactical changes we know it was now for Cantwell, for Wright, is both brave, and it was a masterstroke as well, because it was exactly what we were needing with hindsight. So I think things like that point towards a manager that is making a material difference. You cannot underplay what a manager can do. And in such a short space of time, I'm enthused. I think we've just got to keep the heat up, because, one false move, we have a bad result on Thursday against Sparta. It doesn't mean everything's up in the air and it's a false dawn. It just means it's a bump in the road. I think so far, the Rangers support and the squad Bill looks at have had a shot in the arm of belief, and I hope it continues. I really hope that if the trajectory of improvement across the board here, then we've got a lot of room for optimism.
Yeah, I think so. Let's talk to the game. 2 changes to the side that played at Dundee. In came Todd Cantwell, out went Scott Wright, who might have considered himself a wee bit unlucky given his performance. And into the side came Borna Barisic ahead of Ridvan Yilmaz, possibly, I think, for height, given the goal that was lost the week before. And Hearts looked as though they were maybe going to come out a wee bit more in the opening 5-10 minutes with it really doing much of significance. Rangers asserted a grip in the middle of the park, as Andy said, with Jack and Lundstram taking control of it, and then began to start forcing chances. There was a spell round about 20-25 minutes, Andy, where Cantwell's had a good effort, nice 1-2, and turned and volleyed it, saved by Xander Clark. Then Sima gets his head onto a cross from Tav. Tav gets to the byline. Good header from Sima. Another good save, actually, from Xander Clark. And there were a couple others. Danilo's hit one not that far wide. And I really felt at that point we're knocking on the door. I kind of felt a goal was imminent here. One didn't come, but what pleased me was that they didn't get frustrated. They didn't go in a huff, for want of a better term. And one of my frustrations in football is when you're making chances and you don't get the goal and you get frustrated and you stop doing the things that have caused you to create those chances. You stop trying what Rangers were doing, which was giving goals, 1-2-1s, getting to the byline, playing through the centre, occasionally putting crosses in from Borna and Tav, but putting them in from the edge of the 18-yard box. When Rangers are putting crosses in from 30-40 yards out, we're not playing well, and we're really relying on an inch-perfect cross and a mistake from a defender in the box. Instead, there was a variation to our play, and we kept it up. And as you say, I felt at half-time, Hearts were a wee bit fortunate to be going in at 0-0. It certainly wouldn't have flattered us to go in at least one goal up.
Absolutely, and you use the phrase variation. I've written it down. The variation attacking play is something that is quite stark, especially in the last 2 games. Dundee, I thought it was our best performance of the season, and yesterday probably wasn't as good as Dundee overall. It was a pressure game. It was a high stakes game, and we played our game. There was no suffocation. There was no fear. There was a kind of fluidity to the play. What I'm really, really heartened to see is things that I used to like under Gerrard, which is interplay around the edge of the box. Because I think when you have that variation, as you say, Dave, you can go back to just traditional, Borna, Tav putting whipped balls into the box. what we are doing is get to the byline far more. I love to see Sima playing as a traditional winger. He's basically, yesterday he was put up against Sibic, who I think is pretty poor, and told to take him on. But even with him, his interchange with other players was excellent.
Thought Sima was excellent yesterday.
In our own box as well.
Constant cause problems, yeah.
In the air, he's fantastic at defending set pieces. He's really surprised me.
He wins a lot of tackles. I noticed that yesterday. It's maybe something that gets slightly under, or maybe it's in my mind because he done that shift in Prague. But he does come back and win the ball a fair bit. He stays on his feet in a tackle as well.
Yeah, and we used to praise Kent for his ability all round the park in terms of team formation and defensive duties and all the rest of it. Seamus doing all that now, and I think statistically we would find that he's killing teams far more than Kent ever did. So he is come on a ton from the pre-season friendlies. If you remember the pre-season friendlies, I was like, right, okay. I remember Sima being good with Slavia, but this doesn't seem like the same boy. He's really, really settled into the role that we've got, and he's become quite indispensable for us to the point where he's probably our most important attacking player. But I think Danilo is the one that made a big difference up at Dundee and yesterday. It just brings a different dynamic to even just the press. And I think we can see why the £6 million was born out. And I don't know, do we give Bill the credit? Or we give Bill the brickbats for Dessers? Do we give Bill the credit for Danilo?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is how it works, although he was fit at the start of the season and he wasn't getting game time.
That's true.
So he maybe didn't quite know what to do with him. But on Danilo, I think for me it's movement. It's that ability to knit moves together, because I think a word that I used a lot at the start of the season was fractured, that nothing seemed to fit together. The play didn't really fit together. You didn't get moves that we saw for like the Cantwell chance or the Sima chance or whatever. We lose that goal when somebody gets to the byline and cuts it back constantly, and yet we never did it ourselves. But we've started doing it, and variation is the word, because I think any team in Scotland, they're going to be limited, right? We're the best around the world. Most of the teams in Scotland, with the exception of one of our opponents, it's going to have limited defenders. They're not going to be big name defenders. If you are moving them about constantly, if you are coming at them from different angles, from, as you said, and we were good at this under Gerrard, coming at them from right and left full back, guys in the middle of the park, runners getting in beyond, and strikers and wide men, then it's right, where they're focused. You're much more likely to create a mistake. If you are constantly just doing one tactic, which is crossing it into big guys, then more often than not, they'll be very comfortable dealing with that. Also, they can just set for that. I remember a great thing Ian Ferguson said, which was every game, after about 5 minutes, he'd try and have a shot, even if it went miles wide, because it said to them, you can't sit in against us. You'll need to come out sometimes, because you don't know if I'm going to have a shot or if I'm going to pass it. And I just felt we lacked that variation early in the season. And also, again, something that the more tactical-minded folks have mentioned to me, which is that a big part of what Rangers did in under Beale was rely on individuals. Hopefully Tav will do something brilliant. Hopefully Cantwell will do something. One of your special players doing something special. Instead, there are quite clear patterns of play here, and it is benefiting. You mentioned Scott Wright there. Scott Wright has looked much more comfortable because his job is much more simple. The manager wants him to get the ball, run at the full back, either try and get to the byline and get a cross in, or cut inside and slip a ball or have a shot. And that's all he needs to worry about. He doesn't need to overthink it. He doesn't need to come up with something on the hoof. I think footballers, no matter which level, no matter how good they are, love simple instructions. And especially when they've got no confidence, they love to be told, right, see the day, I need you to do A, B, and C. Don't worry about anything else, just do those. Right? And if you've got someone who is prepared to do the running back the way as well, because that's important. I think in the modern game, your forward players have got to be prepared to work very, very hard off the ball. Danilo is bringing all that, but he's knitting the play together. He's there when a move might be going up a cul-de-sac. He'll move a defender out the way if somebody's maybe ran into a bit of a brick wall. It's little things, but they all combine, and eventually what happens is you leave the defence, as Hearts were in the second half, kind of reeling yesterday, and they fell apart. Change at half-time, manager took Todd Cantwell off. Cantwell had picked up a booking. This is actually one of these examples of two things can be correct at the same time. I think you can say that it wasn't a booking because I thought it was a harsh booking, but equally it was, I think, maybe his third or fourth foul, and it was unnecessary, and he does need to stop that. I think two things can be right at the same time, and in this instance, I think it probably was a harsh booking, but he probably does put himself in a position to get booked more than he needs to.
In isolation, it wasn't a booking, but in the context of what had went on in the game, that was his fourth. I watched the game again. I think it was his fourth foul. And see, this is the thing. I kind of sensed a wee bit of criticism for Cantwell. Oh, he needs to cut out these daft bookings. The joy of watching Cantwell, and especially last season, is that he brings that edge. And I think if we're to do what we're wanting to do, we need to have that somewhere in the team, and more than one player. And I'm quite happy for Cantwell to be one of the players because it adds to his game when he's, tracking back, fighting for balls. And the interesting thing I think about Cantwell under Clement is that we've not seen him as the number 10 yet, really. He's been in that kind of not wide, but the inside right space. And I quite liked it yesterday. I thought first half we were causing him problems and he was getting opportunities, and he had that volley you mentioned, but also had a wee header that another day could have been a beautiful glancing header. And he's clever enough to play there, and his movement's fantastic. If you watch him, the way he darts away for players off the ball, he could be a real trump card in terms of that variation of attacking play we've got. But I wouldn't say him cut out your game. I'd say keep that in your game, because I think that's what makes him the player he is, and
I think
it brings something to us.
I think you can keep the spirit of it with it. It's like, did you need to do that? No, don't then. I think you can say that to him because the manager has said the booking was a factor in taking him off. So, it's clearly and he sees it as a negative. What I would say is just that I'm still not fully convinced that Lammers and Cantwell function brilliantly in the same team. And it's early, so I don't know yet. The manager seems to prefer Lammers in the central role and Cantwell out wide. He spoke about it again yesterday. I think quite often they want the same space. I thought, again, Lammers was better when Cantwell went off yesterday, and Wright was more prepared to stay wider in the match. I thought Lammers was better there. But again, it's I don't think Cantwell's fully fit yet. I think he does need to get up to speed and like everybody else, learn exactly what the manager's wanting and learn to play with the guys around him as well. That's the thing. There's no relationship yet built up with the players that he's been playing with. But the guy who did come on, though, Andy, was Scott Wright. Now, again, I know that we always seem to put in a wee qualification before we speak about anybody at the moment, but that's because of what we've witnessed for the past 2 years. With Scott Wright, I'll be quite honest, when he got sent off against Aberdeen, and he got himself sent off that day. There's no doubt about it. It was stupid. I thought I never want to see him again, and I don't think I'm going to in a Rangers shirt, to be honest. I felt for him a wee bit because the manager had pitched him in that day at left midfield, which not his position. And remember, that's a manager who told him in the summer, I don't think you're good enough to play for us, so you can go and talk to other clubs, and then is pitching him in the wrong place. But even so, I thought, right, we've seen enough of him over the last couple of years. My big gripe, always the end product. There's never any end product from him. The last 2 games there have been. Now, 2 games do not make a Rangers career, but it is interesting in terms of the thought that Philippe Clement said when he came in. Everybody gets as he put it, a white sheet. Everybody gets a clean slate. And it's up to the players to respond. They're basically, another thing he said is, they're on probation until January to see what they can deliver. All Wright can do is what he's doing, which is make yourself somebody that both manager and fans are going, right, fair enough, because the manager doesn't have the baggage of what he hasn't done for the last 2 years. The manager is only going to go on what he's given him. It's an unexpected opportunity for Scott Wright, which so far he's shown all the good signs of taking.
So I'm not going to be two-faced about this. Anybody sat near me at Ibrox, and there were a couple of folk around me listening to this, will be saying, "Aye, right." I slate Scott Wright. He's my least favourite Rangers player because, and I don't get this with many Rangers players. This thing, I don't have a kind of malicious intent towards many Rangers players, but I would call him an imposter. Didn't I think I brought up in a flagship a couple of weeks ago.
Andrew John McGowan, I am shocked.
the fact that he'd come off the bench something like 50, 60 times, and how many times you change the game. All I'm looking for a player like Scott Wright is to contribute every now and again from the bench when you start against lesser lights in the league. Just contribute and be a really useful squad player. I'm not looking for him to become the next Laudrup or De Boer. I just want him to contribute as a good squad player, because his place in that fish tank is to be the guy that is on a relatively low wage, didn't cost us anything, homegrown, which is a thing we're needing, and to just be good enough to come in and contribute every now and again, chip in with a contribution of a goal or a performance. And Wednesday night at Dundee and then yesterday at Hampden are exactly the kind of thing I'm looking for him to do, because what is he good at? He's got pace, he can run at folk, he can go by players when he wants to, he's got a good spin on him, he can take a ball and spin away from people, and now and again when he gets in front of goal, because he doesn't usually get that far up, he's got a decent finish. That is exactly what he needs to do, and it's too early to say, right, that's him, he's reborn, he's transformed, all this kind of stuff, but it's hard to ignore such a difference in a player from a matter of weeks ago, where, as you say, Davey, we would have drove him to whatever Turkish team he wanted to go to and get paid once every 7 months when they would decide to pay him. He's got a chance to save his career here, because let me tell you, his next move is not going to be anywhere close to a team like Rangers. And if he doesn't get a grip of himself very soon, then it's going to be the biggest regret of his career. So it would be a shame for him to show the flashes of what he's shown us and not to work on that and keep going. And it might be Clement's the man for him. You get this with players, they find a manager that loves them and knows how to use them and gets in their head and it works. But I've not got high expectations. I just want him to contribute. So if he can do that be right, he being Clement, then it bodes well for other players in and around the squad that we've not been getting the full tune out of. He spoke about Lammers. He's been poor, right? But you could see that the boy's got technical ability. He just has to be using it the right way. And playing with Cantwell, whatever, I don't know. I'm interested to see how Lawrence fits into this, but there is football that can be played in and around the edge of the box, intricate football that you used to get with Hadji and Aribo and guys like that. I loved all that stuff because it kills teams when you're up against a low block.
A lot more fun to watch as well.
Exactly. And so Wright is grabbing attention because I thought he was excellent in Dundee. I thought he was really good yesterday coming off with expectation. He came on yesterday and there was a job for him to be done. And he basically won us the game because in that first 20 minutes of the second half, he was electric.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, him and Seema down either flank were just battering
changed
them.
The game.
And suddenly Hearts defenders don't like to be turned by quick guys. That's the defenders, particularly in Scotland, they do not want fast guys running at them with control of the ball. And Rangers were doing it on both flanks, and suddenly space was opening up. Did take a penalty to get the lead, no doubts about it, I don't think. I always go on a player's reaction, Andy, and Xander Clark immediately went, that, I've just made an arse of that. You see it everywhere. Guy comes out, doesn't get the ball, gets the man, forward knows, all I need to do here is just get in front of him and touch the ball. That's what Danilo does, like a good striker. It's a penalty. Tav steps up, puts it away. Clark tried to psych him out by standing, thinking he's going to hit it down the middle. He didn't. And Rangers were away. And I think there had been a sense, I tweeted at half time, and I'm not claiming any great insight here, this was a game where the first goal was crucial, because if Hearts had got it and maybe caused a bit of panic with us and sat in, it would have been difficult. But if we got it, I thought we were going to go in and win by a few. And that's, of course, what happened. The second goal, Scott Wright, is an absolute beauty. Lovely ball through from Danilo. Lammers actually involved in the build-up of it, but Danilo slips him in and first-time shot, arrowed low into the bottom corner. And then a few minutes later, again, another great run from Scott Wright. He gets fouled in the edge of the box. This was a brilliant free kick from Tav, because those ones that are central and so close, it's very difficult to get it up and down over the wall with pace. That's the key phrase there, with pace. Anybody can get it up and down over a wall. That's not the skill. But you can generally only get it up and down over the wall with a kind of chip-like shot that contains no pace. So the goalkeeper can stand in the middle of his goal and walk either way to get it because he's got time to see it as soon as it comes over the wall. See, to whip it up and down over with pace where the keeper can't react, that takes real skill. It was a peach of a goal from Tav.
And we talk about the small differences, the inches in a game, and I thought the fact that he shouted, I think it was goals or something like that, over and said, "No, you stand here," to
I
just
physically moved them. He actually went and grabbed the two of them.
and put them exactly where he wanted them, which is, I don't know if it's something they'd been working on and they'd forgot about, or I don't know, but either way,
confidence.
That was the difference there, because it just unsighted Clark. You see him, if you watch it on the telly, you see him taking that slight step to his right, and it's enough for him to just be off. It's a brilliant goal because it's not what you expect. You do not expect, because Clark's showing him the other side of the goal. He's saying, go over there, try that, clip out over there, and he actually goes for the unorthodox side. I don't really rate Clark, right, but even at that, it's a brilliant goal. And listen, listeners, I'm not. This isn't a point scoring exercise in Tavernier, but all the crap and the stuff about him not being a leader and silverware and all the rest of it, stuff like that yesterday doesn't happen by accident. And I think a lot of what he's been getting, and we spoke about this before, Davey, don't want to go your all ground, but it's just nonsense. And he's one of the, what you're seeing yesterday is a full team performing, and then you see the real Tavernier, because he then becomes one of 5 or 6 players that are performing, instead of being the guy that we're shouting at because he's no putting a ball in somebody's head in the box. That is a perfect Tav performance yesterday. I thought it was brilliant from start to finish. He was aggressive and he's tackling. He covered a lot of ground. He just drove us forward as well, and it was rounded off by that free kick, which we can't take for granted, right? That these free kicks don't happen in every team, and not every player can do it. So it's something that should be, appreciated where we've got it.
Yeah, I think with Tav, he never hides. And that's one thing that you can't always say about everybody in that squad, by the way. But Tav never hides. And because of that visibility, he gets more criticism. I also think he gets more criticism because we grade players on a curve. Expectation levels are different. Yep. And this goes back to, some of the most famous names in history that I've watched, that they would get more abuse, believe it or not, than I mean, remember the famous one, Alan McLaren, 10 minutes to go against Aberdeen in April 96, turns to Gascoigne and come on, do something. You're the special player, you're supposed to do something. And there is, I think, a strong undercurrent of that with Tav. And what you'll get with Tav now, because people's positions are entrenched, when he has a good game, people go, where are the Tav haters now? And when he has a bad game, people go, where are the Tav fanboys now? And that's just a battle that will rage forever, I think, because both camps are very comfortable in their own wee groove that they've dug on that one. So I don't think it's going to change.
I'm in my groove, I know. I mean, I'm guilty of doing that and casting up, but I don't know. I just feel a wee bit of appreciation while he's here, because I think if he was at the team next week, we'd soon notice.
You'd miss it. You definitely would. And as I say, when the going gets tough, he's there.
Doesn't
he always deliver, but he does a lot.
And you can say, well, that's the bare minimum. Well, it might be, but you don't get
it's something that we get for everybody. Aye. No, I agreed. And yeah, he does deserve to enjoy it, and he has been playing well. I want to pick out, though, something that's quite important. Might not seem it, given the way the game went, given, in the end, the ease with which Rangers got through. The goalkeeper. Now, a big part of Rangers folklore, especially for fans of our age, Andy, is Rangers goalkeeper. I think there are special positions at every club, and based, a big club anyway, based on your history and whatnot, special shirts. And one of ours is a goalkeeper. It's not the same everywhere, but for us, because we've had this lineage, this incredible run of goalkeepers, that it's a very special position for us. And when we get someone in it that we feel deserves to be, if you like, in that pantheon, then the bond between him and the support is huge. And you can see that already with Jack Butland. He has a song, and the fans just quite clearly adore him. He, to me, looks like what he is, which is an England international, an EPL level player playing in a lesser league, right? That's what he is. Although I will say that in the case of a goalkeeper, it doesn't really matter if it's a guy from Arsenal or a guy from Dundee, if he's hit a beauty that's heading to the top corner, it's heading to the top corner. That'll happen less in Scotland, but it will happen. And part of that is about being the Rangers goalkeeper. You might only have one or two things to do in a game, but you have got to do them. In the last couple of years with Rangers, we haven't had that because Alan McGregor, unfortunately, time had caught up with him and McLaughlin just wasn't up to it. So we've not had that. Yesterday, Hearts get a chance, set piece at 1-0. He makes the save. A couple of minutes later, he makes it a worldie, and it was a worldie from Stephen Kingsley. Kingsley's always had an incredible left foot in terms of goal-bound efforts. I remember he scored an absolute beauty at Hampden a few years ago. I think it was against Hibs. He hits one of those that they're the most difficult to save because they're dipping. If it's rising, you see it all the way. If it's dipping, you're having to go backwards and generate the power. And one thing he's very good at, I think, Butland, is that when he does get a hand to a ball, it's a strong hand and he plays it away. Sometimes even just enough to let him get back up and make the second save. Other times gets it away. Yesterday, that's one that can easily get tipped backwards and up into the net. Easily. Yeah. And it's not a bad mistake from the keeper if it happens. It's a top draw save. The other thing is, as well, is Hearts then had a wee tiny bit of pressure. A couple of minutes where they force corners. He just comes and takes it, and that's that. No bother. The last couple of years, that doesn't happen. The ball, for a few minutes, is whizzing about our defence. The fans get anxious. The players get anxious. It becomes a mutually reinforcing negative thing. He takes it, and none of that happens. The guy's top drawer. And I know it's only a few months in. I think we can say this here, folks. The guy is top drawer.
Have you got your webcam on? Because I've just written down top drawer.
Well, it's a heart and hand phrase, isn't it?
Minds think alike. See the thing with Butland. It's not just about what he's been doing on the park. The way he's carried himself since he joined the club, the way he spoke, is in the kind of furore of what we've been enduring this season. There's been a whirlwind of panic and fear and all sorts in the support about what's been happening. You've had the change of manager and everything that comes with that and the build up to it. He has been a guy that has, I wouldn't say he's given us a bit of calm, but when you hear him speaking, you understand that he's invested in Rangers. He's here for a reason. And he's a leader. He's a potential second captain in that dressing room. And we're very lucky to have him. And I think he's just been a wee ray of light to the Rangers support through all this, that at least we know we had our goalkeeping position sorted and that we couldn't improve there. And what we're seeing now as the outfield team gets better, you're seeing that he's embellishing. He's just the garnish on top of the team now. We've got a good goalie. And even Clement said something the other day about, if we give away chances, we've still got a good goalkeeper to get beaten. He said something like that, I can't remember. So he is...
he said you can't do anything with a shit goalkeeper.
Is that what he said? Well, we're blunt.
But I mean, he's not wrong there. And look, that is the thing. I think sometimes people say, well, we gave away chances, as if that's something that doesn't happen in football. You're going to give away, if you give away one good chance in a game, you're actually defending all right, as long as you haven't made an error. But a team is capable of putting a good ball into a box, or a guy's capable of smashing one from 25 yards. It can happen. You need a goalkeeper who makes the save. Andy Gorham made saves. That was a good Rangers team, but Andy Gorham made saves.
Aye, so he's a top drawer goalkeeper, and even up at Dundee, he made a fantastic double save. I think it was 2-0 at the time or something like that.
It was, yep.
That's key moments in games that you then look back and you kind of take for granted because it happened, but if it went the other way, if we'd lost a goal up at Dundee to make it 2-1, who's to say, that because of a bit of pressure, a bit of panic, they get a lift for it, all this stuff like that, and he just sniffs that out. So whatever we're paying him, it's worth paying. It proves that you can get top players if you play your cards right. I mean, I don't know how long his move was in the making. I dare say we'd spoken to him a couple of seasons before that, I think. So it can happen. But what I love about Jack Butland is that he's not come up here Billy Big Bollocks, because he could have. Came from Man United, quite sure he could have stayed down in England somewhere. And let's not fear him getting a move elsewhere. Let's enjoy him while he's here. And I think things like...
I don't think there's any great desire in his... people have seen that. He's loving that.
That's what I was going to say.
You speak to Jack Butland. He loves, life up here anyway, which helps, family life up here. But he's not a guy that's leaving his family in England, by the way, and coming up here through the week. He's invested in it, and he loves the fact that it's a big club. He's playing in front of 50,000. There's a great start. He's played more games this season, started more games this season than he had in the last 3.
I just hope he's a status quo fan, that's all I would say, because if he's not, then that'll really, really bug him.
No, he says everybody's a status quo fan, surely. Maybe, how can you dislike the quo? I mean, it's the quo, for crying out loud. I'm an insufferable music snob, and I love the quo.
I'm shocked by that there, actually. I thought you came out and said there's 3 chords, aberrations.
Some of the best bands are 3 chords. I'm a great believer that if you can't say something in 3 minutes, it's not worth saying. So, no, musically. But I think it was Paul Weller who one time he was being given the Brit Award, the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Uh-huh.
And an interviewer was going through the previous people who'd won it, and they were going through it, and he says, the Bee Gees. He's like, you're fucking kidding, the Bee Gees rubbish. And Queen, he's like, Queen, I fucking hated them, they were terrible. And then he went, status quo, and he went, you can't argue with that, the quo. And that says it all. But one last thing then, just before we wrap up for the day, Andy, John Lundstram's comments after the match. Where he said the manager's been a breath of fresh air. There's a much better atmosphere around the place now. That's a quote. And people have taken that, understandably, as a dig at Beale. I didn't take that as a dig at Beale so much as praise for the current manager, but I did think it was revealing about what had happened. Now, I don't think the players are blameless, and I've mentioned this before and I'll stick by it. Footballers will always look for something else to explain their bad performances rather than them. So that can happen. But I think the evidence of our own eyes is telling us that something was badly wrong and something is going well now.
We can look too much into throwaway comments for a footballer straight after the game when he's his emotions are high or whatever. And I'm probably going to give Bill a wee bit of leeway here, because the pressure that would have built up in and around the training ground after, basically for the first day of the season, if that come on.
The first day of the season, aye,
100%. That is very. There's no many managers could spike that. I think it's nigh on impossible. I don't think that's going to get solved by having a day out at the go-karts, right?
No.
So I think it's something that gains momentum and you can't stop it, and ultimately caused Bailey's job, because he couldn't deflate it by winning games convincingly. That's the only way you can do it. It can't be done instantly. It's done over a period of time, and we've seen that happen over the last many games he's had. Clement, 4 or 5 games, right?
Yeah.
So it's winning games, and it's winning them in the right way, and it's getting the feel-good factor back. And I think Beale, that could have happened under Beale, but it was getting less and less likely, to the point where it became an impossibility, and that's why he had to go. So I wouldn't look into it too much in terms of taking it as a straight, Clement's great, Beale was, Dr. Death by the end up. I don't think it's as simple as that. I think it's more the environment, the impact of the pressure that was built upon it. It was the support, Clement's spoken about the synergy between the support and the team. Support had gone, so once you've lost the support and the dressing room, it's curtains at Rangers. So I wouldn't look too much into it, but it's good to hear, because I don't think Lundstram's alone in his assessment there, because you can see from the way some of your players are playing, we spoke about it at the start of the show, there's a spring in the step, and there's a definite clarity in what they're being asked to do, which I think they're responding to. And that's a sign of a good manager, and this is why we've got grounds for optimism in the long term. Anything can happen this season, right? If we don't win the League Cup, then obviously that'll be a major blow, but it go back to what I used to say about the Gerrard era. Why did we stick with Gerrard? Because you could see things happening on the park which pointed towards constant improvement and an ultimate goal that you think was going to happen. There was no regression. Very, very seldom was there regression. You get moments of regression under Gerrard, like the Scottish Cup knockout at Tynecastle before COVID.
You had bad months, but overall, I know
you're moving forward, and you could stick with that. And very, very small sample size, but we've seen that come on already.
Yeah, and that is pretty much what we were asking for. So we go to play Prague on Thursday. It's a big game, but we go into it confident, and Ibrox will be full and expectant. And in a good mood. So it's set up to be another big night at the game on Thursday. Right then, folks, that will do us for this week here on the flagship show. A couple of things to mention. Our upcoming live shows on December the 1st. We play New Edmiston House with our special guest Mark Haitley. So if you want to come and hear from me and Andy, he'll be there as well. He'll be on stage.
I'll be there again the piss team me for the first half. So there you go.
Don't wear that jacket again. But no, just don't. I know that you might think, Mark Haitley's here, but he dresses quite sensibly these days.
I'll give him a Versace tunic.
You can have a Versace off up on the stage. If you want to come to that, we're down to the last, I think, 80 tickets for that. So go to New Edmiston House website, and under What's On, you'll see our show, and you can get tickets for that. That's Friday, December the 1st. And then Thursday, March the 21st, we mentioned this last week, we will be doing a show at the Leicester Square Theatre in London, in the heart of London's West End. With none other than Paul Gascoigne. Now, I can't quite believe this, but we've sold half the tickets already. So I would have said at first, if you want to come, that's cool, you've got 6 months, but I don't think you will have. So if you want to come to that, then I would advise you go in and get your tickets. Certainly, especially if you want to give them to somebody for Christmas, I'd advise you go in and get them fairly sharpish. It's going to be a remarkable night. We're currently outselling the Spurs show, by the way, and I think you would have thought they had a bigger audience in London than we did. But I'm quite enjoying that fact. If you want to get tickets for that, then folks, again, just head to Leicester Square Theatre's website, and under What's On, you'll see our show with Gaza. Right then, folks, that will do us. As I say, my thanks to Andy for joining me today. Always fun, Andy, especially when it is fun to watch Rangers.
Yep, that's my middle name, Fun. So I'm going to reinvent myself for being the miserable guy that comes on after we've been beat to actually Mr. Fun.
Was it you that had the pyro?
I can't say, but yes.
See, if you get a chap at your door now, it'll be your own fault. It will be. I was joking. My thanks to our executive producers in London, Mike Lee and Paul Myers, and my thanks to you most of all for listening, folks. Right, we'll be back next week as we head into the international break. So until then, enjoy Thursday, enjoy Livy if you're there. I'll talk to you then. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.